Andy, can you make sure that if there's the other sign-up sheet at the back of the room, anyone who has not yet signed up has an opportunity to do so right now, so the mayor can figure out how many minutes each person will receive. So just to clarify for everyone in the room, we already have one list up here. If you've signed up on one of the two lists, we have you. We will make sure you get to testify. If you have not signed up on any list and wish to testify, go ahead and sign up now on the list that Deputy Clerk Hirsch has at the back of the room, and we will get the meeting started. Thank you. We will bring the regular assembly meeting, whoo, that's an echo, to order for December 11th. Can the folks hear me in the back? Okay, Steve, can you hear me okay? Okay, thanks. First, we'll start with the flag salute. Michelle, Madam Hale. It's been a day. Ms. Hale, will you lead us in the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Hale. Mr. Smith, would you do the line acknowledgement, please?
Of course, Madam Mayor. We would like to acknowledge that the city and borough of Juneau is on Tlingit land and wish to honor the indigenous people of this land. For more than 10,000 years, Alaska Native people have been and continue to be integral to the well-being of our community. We are grateful to be in this place, a part of this community, and to honor the culture, traditions, and resilience of the Tlingit people. Gunishish.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Madam Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ms. Adkisson,
Present.
Mr. Kelly,
Here.
Walalkidak,
Here.
Ms. Wall,
Present.
Mr. Smith,
Here.
Ms. Hughes-Candies,
Here.
Mr. Bryson,
Present.
Deputy Mayor Hale. Here. And Mayor Weldon.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Folks that are in the door, we need you to slide across the end of the room, please. And there should be some more chairs. We just can't have you block the doorway. Our fire marshal gets mad at us. We have no special order of business, correct? And no minutes. Do you have any agenda changes, Madam Manager?
No.
Okay, next we're going to go to public participation on non-agenda items. So by our rules, we're limited to 20 minutes on this. I think we have 10 people, so that will be 2 minutes apiece. You can sign up for non-agenda items still, because we have another opportunity at the end of the meeting. So on that list, we will end with Ms. Lovishik. Sorry, Maria, I'm slaughtering your name tonight. So with that, our first one will be Bookless. Carol Bookless. Nope, right over there. We have a chair for you and everything. And Robert will help you with the mic. And please state your name and area of town you live in for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
Okay. Carol Bookless, I live in Douglas, and I'm here to try to get the South Douglas Steering Committee off the whatever, get it started up again. I joined the South Douglas Steering Committee in 2019. It was supposed to do a 20-year plan in 1 or 2 years. It's now going to be 5 years, and we have nothing to show for it. But now it's a 15-year plan, I guess. But there are so many things that I see coming up in front of the Assembly that relate to Douglas. There are some crazy ideas that have been floated, and I want to make sure that the community knows they're out there, like a cruise ship dock in Douglas, developing 6th Avenue in Douglas. Nobody wants it, and yet we've been telling that to the planners, and we can't get it in writing. So, you know, there's some innovative things that we've tried to get going, like maybe tiny house lots in Douglas, maybe communal housing, co-op housing, rain gardens to eliminate some of the water that is creating, at least on my street, which is 3rd Avenue, the 3rd Avenue sinkhole that happens every single year. There's so many things we can do. We were talking about Mayflower Island being transferred from the government over to the city. And what are we going to do with it? There's so many exciting things that could happen in Douglas, but nothing has happened. We've gone through 3 planners. I don't know what else to say. I don't know if there are any, that's all I guess that all I have to say is please, please, please do something. And I support composting.
Thank you. And Ms. Wall.
Thank you, Ms. Bookless, for being here. We had someone at our last meeting talking about the downtown plan in a similar fashion, something that hasn't been completed and citizens have been working towards for a while. Will you tell me what you heard last from the city about what comes next for the Douglas plan?
I think the last meeting was in like March, and then I called and asked about it, and they said that they would not have a new public meeting until they got the actual maps done to share with the public, and then that was supposed to happen by June, and then July, and then, yeah, it's been most of this year when nothing has happened. So I think that before we had another public meeting where everyone got to talk about what was going on, they wanted to have something to show people, but they had something to show us in March. And I'm just kind of frustrated.
Any further follow-up questions? Thank you for your testimony. We'll try and see where that is.
Thanks.
Next, we have Skip Gray. Please state your name and area of town you live in for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
My name is Skip Gray. I live at the Twin Lakes area, and I'm kind of making this up as I go along, considering I have 2 minutes instead of 3. As you all know, in 1984, the state took 10 homes on Telephone Hill, many of them against the wishes of their owners. Approaching 40 years later, 3 of the homes have been demolished. Proponents of the new capital have given up on the idea, and the state decided it was time to divest itself of the properties. Given that reality, what do you think would be the fair and honorable thing for the state to have done once it became clear that the reason for the taking no longer existed? One would hope that there would be a clearly defined law regarding that, one that would require the state to return the properties to the people who owned it, or if they had passed away, to their heirs. But unfortunately, as near as I can tell, there is no clarity in Alaska laws. I've been told they are some of the worst in the United States regarding this. Given all that, I'm not here to argue the legality of it. I'm here to discuss the morality of it. And the state does offer giving the land back as one possible option for disposal of unneeded land. And giving Telephone Hill lands back, or at least offering to sell them back at fair market value, in my mind, is clearly the right thing to do. It's what the state should have done as soon as it was clear the land was no longer needed. And because the state didn't do it, it's the first thing the city should have done and still should. And I had more, but thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Gray? Ms. Wall?
Mr. Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Gray, for being here. When you talk about giving the land back, who do you mean to?
Pardon?
Who would get the land if we gave the land back?
Who would get the land?
Yes.
Either the people who owned it at the time of the taking or their heirs, if they wanted it back or could afford to buy it back. Personally, I think should give it back to them for all the disruption they caused in their family. There were 3 families living on the hill at the time who were descendants of Edward Webster, who built the oldest continuously lived in house in Alaska. 3 members of the same family still living on the hill got their houses taken away by the state. 2 of those people I knew, they passed away, but they do have relatives still living there in Juneau.
Thank you. Any further questions for Mr. Gray? Thank you for your testimony tonight. Next, we have Eric Peterson. Please state your name and area of town you live in for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
Hi, Eric Peterson, and I live in the Twin Lakes area. I want to be short and sweet. You have a long night ahead of you. I'm going to voice my non-support for the proposed municipal compost facility. In general, I have concerns that the operation of this proposed facility will create an unneeded burden to the general public and require ongoing subsidies for maintenance and operations. And I don't know if the need for the facility has been clearly established. We already have a private business that is doing a fabulous job composting here, and that's all I have.
Any questions for Mr. Peterson? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony tonight. Next, we have Emily Kane. Please state your name and area of town you live in for the record, and you have 2 minutes. There we go.
The
There
Green,
you go.
thank you. Emily Kane, I live downtown. I'm so glad that Mr. Peterson helped to introduce the topic that I'm here for, which is in case anybody doesn't know, the CBJ got a 2.5 million grant to enhance composting in Juneau, and that grant is to build a facility at 2300 Anka Street, and that's right adjacent to Juneau Composts. So the grant money is not to be used for any kind of ongoing administrative costs or payroll. It's just to build out the facility. So my understanding is that an RFP can go out for a contractor to build the facility. And with all due respect, I'm not sure that CBJ right now has the bandwidth to run a composting facility, and we have one that's here that's been doing fantastic work for 7 years. So it would just be, we're talking about waste management. It would be such a waste of time and money to go back to the drawing board with a new compost facility. There's many examples of private government relationships, and the owner of Juneau Composts is in touch with a whole network of composters all over the country who have used federal grant money to enhance facilities that are already there. So Juneau Compost rents the land right now. CBJ would use the grant money to build the new facility, pave it, bring water, bring electricity, consult with our local composting expert, and then Juneau Compost would continue to lease the land. One of the esteemed members of the assembly was kind enough to email me saying that we can't just give a government grant to one person. It wouldn't be, that's not the scenario. The grant is to build the facility, and then CBJ would partner with Juneau Compost to run the facility, and no tax burden to anybody who doesn't want to use composting. Thank you so much.
Any questions? Folks, we can't applaud. We will have to remove you if you show any reaction. Thank you. I appreciate the support but we just can't do that in our meetings. Any questions for Dr. Kane? All right, thank you for your testimony. Next we have, and I apologize, Sarah Caldwell, I think.
Thank you.
Please state your name and area of town you live in for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
Sarah Caldwell. I live in Douglas, and I am also coming here to support Juneau Compost. They have been doing a marvelous job for the last 7 years. They are getting rave reviews not only from local gardeners, but local nursery businesses. I mean, the fact that they have other nurseries in Southeast and different communities that are ordering from them attest to their quality. And I know she said that she has made requests for paving, for some expanded area. And that seems like exactly what you're saying this money would be going towards. So it seems like a very good fit. So I would hope that you would open up the bid process so that she knows, yes, I will partner you know, yes, I will have this contract to expand my business for the city, or no, which would be a shame, but it could also be one of the answers. So that she knows how to plan, what she is getting equipment wise, etc. I think that that would be a very wise use of the money. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Doreen, and I don't know that I want to try and kill the name Preet, maybe? Prieto. Oh, there's an O on the end. There we go.
There's a lot of feedback on this thing. It's hard to understand.
Yep, they're on ours too. That's part of our technical difficulties, unfortunately. We're getting quite a bit of echo up here too.
Yeah, that's what it is. So can you guys hear me, or is it doing that? You guys can hear me? Okay. My name is Doreen Prieto. I live in Juneau, up in the hill between Coe Park and the Governor's Mansion. What else am I supposed to tell you?
That's it. You have 2 minutes.
Okay. I am here, I have two very short questions. But I don't know if anybody in the audience has actually read this document, which is the environmental assessment for the Juneau compost facility prepared by the EPA, under which who will be facilitating or working with the grant. This document has no authors. This document has a lot of statements out of the blue. There's no fact, there's no evidence, just statement. My first question, page 4 of the EA. Juneau's Assembly have directed CBJ staff to work with the business owner of Juneau Compost to ensure that this project complements the existing compost program, which I think is, they're referring to Juneau Compost, within the community. That's the first thing. Then on page 5, it says, CBJ has partnered with Juneau Composts and other area nonprofits, ellipses. This would provide equipment and site improvements for Juneau Compost. This would provide equipment and site improvements for Juneau Compost in order to help them increase in their capacity at their current site. So my first question is, what has CBJ staff done to work with Juneau Composts? That's my first question. My second question is, it says here that CBJ is partnering with Juneau Composts.
That means your 2 minutes is done.
Okay. That'd be great. I really like an answer to the questions, not just say something and.
All right. Any
questions?
Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Oh, sure, anytime.
Next, we have Yvette Sautier. I always get this wrong, Yvette, sorry.
One of these days. I'm here frequently enough. I'm Yvette Sautier. I live in Star Hill, downtown. I'm just here right now to support Juneau Composting. I think that we either need to partner with them as a nonprofit immediately or ask for RFPs immediately, because we need to have some sort of plan moving forward, and she's doing a good job. She's already in place, it's working well, and she's trusted. Undermining this would undermine any composting project in CBJ. And I think what would happen is we undermine this, and there are other projects that CBJ has done that have been undermined by, I'm going to say it, Chicken Yard Park, the PRAC. There are certain projects that we have seen just become mud holes, and this one is a gem, and don't let it go away. She's doing a fantastic job. I'm not going to repeat what Dr. Kane said. She's doing a fantastic job. Don't let it go away. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Soutier? Seeing none, thank you. Okay, next we have Lisa Doherty. Please state your name and area of town you live in for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Lisa Doherty and I live out North Douglas. I'm here today because I feel of what I feel is a lack of transparency and collaboration in the past. For all of 2023, CBJ staff and assembly has told the public that the city is working with Juneau Compost for the $2.5 million federal grant it's receiving. But all we've had is conversations. I think working together would be a very loose term. At times I have felt heard and at times I have felt exploited. I do not think anyone from CBJ has bad intentions. I think you are all doing the best you can with the time you have. And when I call things out, it's not personal. I just advocate for all kinds of issues. It's my civic duty. So the past year has been full of anxiety, anger, and grief. All I want to do is compost for our community. Trying to advocate for the future of Juneau Compost by myself has not been successful, so recently I have asked for help. The truth is that CBJ and Juneau Compost operate in 2 different worlds and on 2 different timelines. I do not know how to get things going in a positive direction that works for everyone. I have attended or read the agendas and meetings minutes to every meeting concerning solid waste for many years, and I have served on JCOS to advise Assembly on solid waste. I have followed these issues through 4 public works directors, 2 city managers, and staff who have come and gone, but Juneau Compost has been the one constant that has delivered compost results for our community. As a business owner, I've been rightfully worried about my future, and I am Juneau's almost only compost hauler and only compost facility. And now I'm in limbo because the city is going to use taxpayer money to build a facility they do not even have operational plans for. I have so many unknowns. What if the RFP replicates what I already do? What if the city decides to partner with someone else like Clinton and Haida, who has recently received compost money? What if staff capacity cannot handle managing a long-term compost facility? I can't be expected to sit and wait. I just hope things will be okay for us. The big question is, how does a private business running on revenue compete with a city-funded program with taxpayer dollars? It can't. When you say that the city will not compete with Juneau Compost, how can you say that when you're building a compost facility next to mine? I had a lot more, but sorry, that was 2 minutes.
Any questions? Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Doherty. I guess just a question, what pathway forward do you propose, knowing that we have procurement issues and all those, procurement rules and laws? What pathway forward do you propose?
Right now, the relationship that Juneau Compost and the city has is a tenant-landlord agreement. Like, you guys have been my landlord since 2019. We've had an ongoing relationship since 2018 when we first started trying to lease this land. And right now, CBJ receives all of the benefits of my work, landfill diversion, which has been on the assembly goals for the past 3+ years. You're receiving all of those benefits for 0 work and 0 taxpayer dollars. And I don't think that can be ignored. I would like to just continue leasing land from the city. And if you have improved land, I would love to pay more money to rent improved land.
Mr. Smith.
Thank you for that. As we are, seemingly, hopefully we'll expand our composting capacity. Do you believe that there is enough room for you and Clinton and Haida to be operating, anyway, both operating?
I guess that depends on what each one is doing, right? If another facility is going to open up and do the exact same thing we're doing, I don't see that happening. If you look in composting facilities across the country, there's no town of 30,000 people that has 2 compost facilities, and there's a reason for that. There might be enough waste in the trash. There might be enough food scraps in the waste stream, but there's not going to be enough of a market. There's not going to be a way that one facility that's subsidized can compete with another one that's not. And while there are aspirational composters in Juneau, I believe that Juneau is a sole source. We are the only one that actually hauls food scraps, and we're the only one who actually operates a facility.
Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony tonight.
Thank you.
Next, we have Maria Levishuk. Please state your name and area of town you live in for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
Hello, my name is Maria Lovishuk and I live on North Douglas, and I'm here for two reasons. One is to show my wholehearted support for Juno Compost. I think that sometimes it is hard being a private business and working through government issues. I believe that Juno Compost has done an amazing job in the last 7 years, and I think that Juno Composts could grow and could absorb the Juno Compost's needs. I think it is really difficult for a small entity to compete with government, especially for public dollars. I know that there are a lot of strings that come with grants, and these strings often make us do things that we would normally not do. And so I just think that we should all take a pause and think about how to make this existing thriving business works. There's so many issues in Juneau that this city does need to be working on. I'm not gonna name them specifically, homelessness, but this is working. Juneau Compost is working. They have not refused a single customer. They have not turned down anybody who has not wanted to compost. I really care about compost as citizens of Juneau. I think our future is tied to how we handle our waste, not just as citizens of Juneau, but as humanity. And I really believe that this is one issue, this is one waste that we're handling quite well, and could continue to handle more with this private entity. And so I just really would like to urge the staff and the assembly to work with Juneau Composts and make sure that they continue to compost for us as we have been doing for 7 years, and continue to grow, because we can and we should. And my other thing is that I'm here to thank you. Oh, she's gonna just thank you.
A quick thank you.
Okay. So we came to you at the beginning of the budget process to ask you for an appropriation for phase 3 of Housing First, so we could get the big HFC grant. And I'm happy to report that on Thursday we found out that we did. All because of you. We got the grant and we got the vouchers. So just thank you so much for your trust in this process of this small entity, which is Juneau Housing First Collaborative. And I believe we'll have phase 3 of Housing First soon.
Congratulations to you and your staff who do all the work. Any questions for Maria? Thank you for your testimony tonight. All right, that concludes public participation on non-agenda items. So we will move to the consent agenda. Is there any public request for?
Madam Mayor, can I just ask a quick question? You mentioned that we have rules, and you suggested other non-agenda topic people speak at the end of the night. If there are other people who want to speak on non-agenda items, I'd certainly be interested in changing our rules temporarily, if instead of letting people sit through our whole meeting. But I'm not sure if there are.
I don't know if there's any further ones. Andy, would you look at the sheet, please? The last I knew, Ms. Loveshick was the last one. And I'm sorry.
Everyone else signed up for agenda items.
Okay. And Madam Manager, I'm sorry, did you want to say anything, or are you good? It's up to you.
Well, while everyone's shuffling out of the room, I can provide an update on where we are in the composting grant, if that's useful.
Sure.
So I think Dr. Kane did a good job summarizing our municipal composting grant, and CBJ does a lot of public-private partnerships. We don't intend to own or operate a facility, but we must follow competitive procurement. So just to zoom out a little bit, we don't own our waste stream or our landfill, and diverting waste is really one of the only things that we can do to impact the life of our landfill. Almost 40% of what we landfill, including paper and yard waste, is organics. And there's just a lot of room to grow in that area. The Assembly has made a decision to commit to waste diversion, and specifically on this $2.5 million, we haven't even just I know there's a lot of anxiety and a lot of nervousness about what CBJ is going to do, but we are still in the application process, which is why there's an EPA comment period open on it. So we haven't received any of that funding. So we haven't done the public outreach. We haven't done the feasibility. We haven't done any of that planning. And there's a lot of policy decisions that need to be made. So we're not ready to issue that RFP because there are those policy decisions. Like, do we just have a contract and have, like we do with household hazardous waste or recycle works? Do we just lease the property? What are our waste reduction goals as a community, and are we willing to incentivize composting? So these are all questions that really need some thoughtful engagement, and I have a really nice list of like 80 people to and counting to engage on that. So I just want to reiterate that it really comes down to competitive procurement and needing to issue an RFP. Our code does give us more leeway to work with nonprofits. I have had conversations, and City Manager Watt has had conversations with Juneau Compost, and to this point, they haven't been interested in becoming a nonprofit. And I just want to let the community and the Assembly know, there are reasons to not support a CBJ expanding composting efforts, and we heard some good testimony. And if the community doesn't want to expand composting in a way that's fair and competitive through competitive procurement, then we can not move forward with that grant. So I just want to, we can refuse that funding. So relinquishing that grant is an option. And I just wanted to kind of paint the picture of where we are. We haven't had more than conversations because of where we are in that process.
Thank you. Mr. Bryson.
As the chair of Public Works, I wanted to include that solid waste and Juneau's waste stream diversion and trash is a standing topic on Public Works and Facilities. And while we don't specifically discuss compost at every single Public Works, we discuss some level of trash, and we're attacking the problem from a really high level with facing the entirety of the situation as well. But trash is never off of the Public Works and Facilities agenda. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Bryson. I think your next meeting is next Monday, correct? So, all right. So with that,
Madam Mayor,
Kelly.
thank you. I just had a little follow-up if I could. I think we heard a lot of testimony today that talked about the construction of a CBJ facility. But I think if I remember reading, we received a lot of emails from staff, and I believe I remember reading that we didn't get the grant that would subsidize building a facility. So I just wanted to get some clarification on that, both for my benefit and hopefully for the public.
Madam Manager.
Thank you. I'll be brief. You are correct. The $2.5 million would not build a facility. It would do site development, utilities, paving, and the like.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no further questions, we will move to the consent agenda. Are there any public requests for consent agenda changes other than ordinances for introduction? Seeing none, are there any assembly requests for consent agenda changes? Seeing none, Ms. Hale.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the consent agenda, and I ask for unanimous consent.
Any objection? Seeing none, the consent agenda is moved. That will bring us to public hearing. And we are first going to item 6. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is ordinance 2023-18, an ordinance amending the City and Borough of Juneau Code related to development in landslide and avalanche hazard areas.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Manager.
Off my game. The City and Borough of Juneau currently regulates development in mapped landslide and avalanche hazard areas based on 1987 maps. In 2020, the City and Borough of Juneau contracted with Tetra Tech to update the landslide and avalanche hazard maps. Tetra Tech completed its task and produced a report with new maps in 2022. Since then, the Planning Commission, Assembly Committees, and the Assembly have discussed the Tetra Tech maps and different regulatory options. Ordinance 2023-18 is the result of that public process. This ordinance would repeal the 1987 landslide and avalanche maps, repeal the landslide provisions of Title 49, adopt the 2022 Tetra Tech avalanche maps, and regulate development in moderate and severe avalanche hazard areas based on the 2022 Tetra Tech avalanche maps. On November 6th, 2023, the Assembly Committee of the Whole recommended the Assembly introduce this ordinance. I recommend the Assembly adopt this ordinance.
Thank you, Madam Manager. And we do have some testimony on this. Madam Clerk, do we have any on Zoom for the avalanche hazard maps?
Yes, ma'am, we do.
Let's go to them first.
Miss McKeenan, you should be able to talk now.
Please state your name and area of town you live in for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Hello. For some reason, I can only hear you. I can't see you, and I assume you can see me. I mean, you can't see me. You can just hear me. My name is Mary Alice McKean. I live at 212 West 9th Street, and I've submitted several comments on this issue, and I submitted one near the end of today. And I mostly just want to make myself available in case anybody have any questions about what I wrote. But basically, the public has, the Planning Commission received an enormous amount of public testimony regarding the limits on the landslide maps, and they recommended the maps not be adopted. And the city agreed with that and is going forward with adopting the avalanche maps, but not the landslide maps. However, the city is taking action to provide some type of notice regarding the landslide maps. I'm not really sure what that notice is because it's not provided anywhere in an ordinance. So my pitch is really that the Assembly make sure that it keeps its commitment to property owners to have an effective disclaimer that the landslide maps have not been adopted, that they do not in any way indicate that specific properties may have a significant landslide risk, and that the disclaimer indicate that there might be errors on the maps and that property owners have not been given an opportunity to correct the maps. And I think that's really important. And my understanding is that is what the Assembly promised to the public at the September Assembly meeting and at the November Committee of the Whole meeting. And that's what I addressed in the letter that I wrote today. And I thank you for your, attention to this issue. It's very important.
Thank you, Ms. McKean. Any questions for Ms. McKean? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony tonight and all your emails.
You're welcome.
Do we have another one? Madam Clerk in the back?
That is the only person on Zoom for this particular item.
Okay, and can I have you bring up there? Thank you. So we'll just work down our list on this one, and looks like the first one we have is Mary Ellen Duffy. Hello, please state your name and area of town you live in for the record, and you have 3 minutes, and the mic's already on, so.
Okay. My name's Mary Ellen Duffy. I live downtown. I'm a retired senior and longtime Juneau resident. First, I want to thank you guys for the time and the work you've put into the Tetra Tech mapping issues. It's been going on a while. Not adopting the Tetra Tech landslide maps and new landslide ordinance could avoid a huge economic impact to many of your fellow Juneauites. As I testified in prior meetings, the adoption would have had a severely negative economic result on me as a mortgage holder, and I'm not alone in that. So I thank you. But today I'd like to request that you not undercut your previous work by initiating a notification policy to specific properties that cites those same maps that didn't get adopted. And that you also please adopt adequate, effective disclaimer language. My concern regarding citing these maps in a notification process is that financial lenders and insurers will use that information to utilize the maps for their purposes, even though the maps weren't adopted by the city. And that they'll consider our properties hazard for their purposes. And as I testified earlier, the costs will be untenable for many of us. It's fair to say everyone in this room cares about safety, but citing the inconclusive maps, I don't think provides that safety. There are numerous areas in the Juneau Borough that have potential hazards. By calling out only a few specific neighborhoods, the city sends the message that all the other areas don't have a hazard, that they're okay, and that's incorrect. This entire situation is very distressing to me personally because my home and life investment are at stake. And again, I know I'm not alone in that. So I asked the city assembly members to consider the human element and your fellow Juneau residents, and I ask you not to undercut the progress that you've made to this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you for your testimony tonight. Next, we have Yvette Soutier again. Did I get it right this time? You're getting closer? I know you've already testified, but please state your name and the town you are for the record.
Yvette Soutier, Star Hill downtown. And I won't belabor the point. I think the two speakers before me really hit it on the nose. Don't undo the progress you've done by issuing kind of notices that haven't been well thought out. I really don't want to belabor the point, but like the speaker before me, my and my husband's entire livelihood, our entire fortune is in our house, and we need to be able to insure it. We need to be able to sell it if we need to. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Sean Isley, right? Isley.
I'll take a note from Eve and try to do it a couple times, so get my last name in there.
Please state your name and area town you live in for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Sean Isley, downtown Juneau. Landslides and avalanches are real risks for Southeast Alaska. We should address them by thinking of ways to keep our community physically and financially safe. Nothing you're doing tonight prohibits that, and I hope we as a community do thoughtfully take those steps. The issue here tonight is putting the genie back in the bottle or unringing the bell when it comes to the maps that were developed and are not being adopted. They draw distinct lines across property boundaries, but are not nearly as distinct or defensible when we dig into them, and create significant hardships for Juneau residents while doing very little to make people safer. At the last public testimony, we heard about mortgages, and just now about mortgages requiring unobtainable landslide insurance for houses in a zone. We don't want a situation where the Assembly hasn't adopted a zone, but the city is nonetheless sending postcards each year telling residents about the danger of the zone they're in. How will their mortgage broker interpret that? Similarly, a lot of people, myself included, believe there's a valid reason they would be excluded from a zone if the next steps were taken analyzing specific properties. In my case and many others, those next steps would be considering mitigating measures and structures above their property, but there are lots of reasons the zones are not accurate, and there's currently no way for us to do the next steps or be exempted from these maps that will now be sitting publicly on the digital shelf. So we would like something on the record stating that the maps are unadopted, giving their limitations, and why it's not appropriate for the maps to be used for specific property determinations they don't necessarily support. We also heard at the last public testimony that unadopted maps are already being used by appraisers, so there is a very real risk that not adopting the maps isn't enough, and they will still have unintended consequences unless you take further steps. I was glad the Assembly asked about a disclaimer at the November Committee of the Whole, but the whereas statement that the Assembly was pointed to is not a disclaimer. The Assembly is taking a legit direction here, and the whereas statement should reflect the reasons the Assembly is taking that action and the public statements that have led to it. A disclaimer doesn't have to go out on a limb. It can be based on things that are as obvious and as well as in the language of the study itself. For example, stating the maps are not adopted, that subsequent steps would be needed to analyze specific properties that aren't being taken by the city and aren't available to homeowners, or noting that the studies don't take mitigating measures into account and don't do a risk analysis. Finally, city staff have been directed to send postcards based on zones. Frankly, that's just a bad idea, and I think the Assembly can easily give direction to base notice, even postcards, or tax notices or utility bills on something less problematic than zones you're not adopting. For example, use neighborhoods or just make it citywide. Note that doing it citywide or in a property transaction would provide notice before someone moves to an area, not after, and you could easily use it to clarify that not just the mapped areas are at risk, but other areas have not been mapped and should not be assumed to be safe. So you're not just targeting a few neighborhoods when risk exists borough-wide. So I want to acknowledge and appreciate the action you're taking tonight. I think it's important, and I think it is important to dot the i's and cross the t's and make sure it's effective.
Perfect timing. Any questions for Mr. Isley?
Madam Mayor?
Mr. Smith? Mr. Keller?
Thank you. At the beginning of your testimony, Mr. Isley, you mentioned that there were some ways to improve public safety that weren't addressed in this ordinance. Was there anything that you wanted to expound about that at this time?
Mr. Isley?
Thank you. Yeah, I think that, it is important to do these kinds of studies. I think ideally we would do a study that was kind of borough-wide and at a big 30-foot level and gave a sense of the hazards. But then I don't think you want to draw specific lines on a property map from that. I think you want to think about what actions you actually want to take to make the community safer. And I think, some of those things could be putting together insurance pools. Something like that is done in FEMA, where you have a flood mapping project, but then you adopt insurance based on that. So there's kind of a give and take, and there's a balance. I think you want that trade-off when you create some kind of public action like this. I think doing monitoring on slopes and then monitoring of rainfall in conjunction with that, and then doing a risk or a warning system would be a great idea. Sitka's done something like that. I think you could also imagine buybacks or other things, or hiring an engineer to be on city staff who can actually do the site-specific analyses. So I think there are great things that could be done, and I think, climate change is real, and Southeast Alaska is going to bear a lot of the impacts of that. So taking those big picture and thinking about it that way is the right way to define safety for the community.
Thank you.
Mr. Smith? Or were you just pointing to Mr. Keller? Ms. Hughes Candy, do you have your hand up, or you just? All right, thank you for your testimony tonight.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mark Ridgway. Please state your name and area of town you live in the record, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Mark Ridgway, and I live at Twin Lakes. Thank you, Madam Mayor, Madam Deputy Mayor. I was here at the November 6th Committee of the Whole meeting, and I did see something that I thought I should mention. Ms. McKean sort of touched on it. I followed the Planning Commission, who did an awesome job struggling with this, what to do with the maps, for over a year. And at the November 6th, the minutes aren't available right now, but if you were to look at that, Director McLean was here, as were most of the assembly and the new city manager, and no one could remember what actually the Planning Commission poured up for motion. And I was there when they did it, and they went till 10 o'clock at night, and it was, don't adopt the maps and don't adopt the ordinance. So followed it for a long time. I'm not going to sit here and say, like, we don't have a problem. This town's got a problem. None of us were here when they decided to build Gold Street and carve into the mountain. But I would urge you to reconsider utilizing this study, and I heard it called inconclusive tonight. Good word. I don't know who I just lifted that from. But when you look at the preamble of your revised ordinance, it says the level of assessment prepared for this project is suitable for determining whether land areas could be affected by avalanches. It's not really strong. In fact, if you look on the map, this building is in both of those maps, moderate. So I think the city's got a problem, big problem. And I would not want to look at it piecemeal. The reason that there is a mistake in your ordinance on page 31 of the packet, 411 of the ordinance, third line down, it says strike determines that development is proposed in an area similar to in nature to those studied in the above referenced documents. No documents, just one. And Tetra Tech combined both of those. I think Director McLean asked them not to, but they combined them as a cost savings measure. They didn't have a lot of money for those studies. I would just urge you guys to take the long view of this, if at all possible. And as the gentleman before me said, look towards mitigation efforts. And I think it is a large problem, but it has to be dealt with a large solution. And these Tetra Tech plans are not it. That's all I could come up with. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Ridgway? Ms. Hughes Candies?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for being here, Mr. Ridgway. Is it better if I'm back?
Yeah.
Just philosophically looking towards mitigation, understanding there's a problem. I do recall those planning commission meetings. Considering that there's a lot of stuff that's in the moderate as well as the severe, would it be your desire to have no regulation for any level of severity? Would that be your proposed solution?
Mr. Ridgway?
Through Madam Mayor, no, absolutely not. When I say no regulation for hazards, I'm not like that. I work with regulations in my professional life, and I believe there's a very good place for them. What I'm saying is Tetra Tech study, if you look at what you say about what's said in the ordinance, it could, that's half the town. I don't think it has enough definition. It's if you ask Tetra Tech, this is the first part of several studies to come. There's no geotechnical data. This is LiDAR maps. It's not bad. When you talk to people, and I talk to people who do this for a living, they're like, hey man, for what they had and what they were given, that's a great study, but it's just the beginning. And I just want to urge the assembly, and I'm not really nitpicking this thing. Yes, I picked out the letter S. Okay, well that should go. But I just really urge you guys, take the long view, set up future assemblies for success. I think it's a little bit premature to overutilize a study that in and of itself, in the first page of it, which is don't use it for this and don't use it for that, and hey, liability waivers. I think that if I were to regulate based on this study, it would be very cautious.
Thank you for that clarification.
Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Brianna Ackley. Please state your name and area of town you live in for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Brianna Ackley. I live on Star Hill. Like so many of my neighbors have already come up and spoken eloquently on. I'm here to strongly urge that you follow through with not adopting the maps, but also, I know we've all been dealing with this issue for years now, pretty much, and we're tired of it and we want to be done with it. But I really would love if you would take a tiny bit more time to add in some language that explicitly states that these maps should not be used for lending for insurance purposes, because if the verbiage stays as it is, I think that lenders and insurers will absolutely kind of use it the way they want to, unless there is specific verbiage stating that these maps are not to be used for things like that. Because like a lot of people have said, like, I just bought my house last year and I put most of my life savings into it. So if I can't ever sell it, if I can't insure it, like that's my entire financial well-being that's just gone. So I think if you could just take a tiny bit more time to just add in some explicit language that states how these maps should not be used, we would really appreciate it. And thank you for all your work on this.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony tonight. Next, we have Steve Sankson. Please state your name and area of town you live in for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Members of the Assembly, my name is Steve Sinkson, and I live in the Valley right now, and I've been working for at least 5 years on a downtown housing project. I need to tell you, I've been a contractor in town and a builder for many years, going back at least 30 years, and it's clear to me that the overlay maps are the single biggest barrier to downtown housing, in addition to financing. The zone maps and things that have been recorded have really resulted in a stuck market for downtown Juneau. The perception now of the hazard is larger than the problem, I believe. I think addressing the risk, as many people recommended during planning commission meetings, is a better approach than trying to regulate and designate and that sort of thing. Let's see. Since the 90s, I've been contacted to assist in the planning of new apartment units, and over those times there was at least 6 projects with a total of what could have been 166 units downtown. None went forward, and the main reason cited was the hillside ordinance and the hazard zone map. In every case where I applied to the banks and local funders for doing housing projects downtown, I was suggested to find a nice level lot in the valley and not mess with downtown because it's a hazard. But that whole perception that's persisted for 30 years really needs to be turned around. I think we need to look at it beyond the maps. I would suggest that we adopt no maps and we actually manage the risk, is what a lot of people have said. That we look at better effective planning and land use policies to regulate what happens in these zones and to do monitoring and assessment of geophysical activity, put out time warnings and forecasts, which is also what many people that are witnessing the Wrangell situation are talking about, is a way to do that and enhance preparedness and response to having evacuation plans. Most of the hazards that exist on Mount Roberts are due to the fact that it's a man-made hazard and not necessarily a natural hazard. Mount Roberts hazards are all the result of man-made or man-caused incidents. Public health and safety and geophysical hazard zones is a complex issue, and it requires careful planning and execution. Some of the general guidelines would be 6 items, not just a map, but actual risk assessment that does do boots on the ground to take a look at what's happening there. Emergency preparedness, infrastructure planning, education and awareness. There's a number of things that can be done in addition to monitoring and early warning. I think we need to keep asking, what do we need to get new housing in downtown Juneau? And really, one of the steps to do that, I think, is to move forward with a mitigation strategy and manage the risk of what's happened in these areas.
Thank you. Any questions, Ms. Hughes-Candies?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Thanks for your testimony. I have just a question about, I think you said 166 units that hadn't gone forward, and as you are well familiar with, one of the other barriers to housing in Juneau is we're so land poor because we don't have a lot of those nice, flat, stable lots. Were those frequently just different attempts within the same areas and then none of them went forward, or?
They were throughout downtown, Madam Mayor. These were throughout downtown. Many of them mostly were in the downtown core area that couldn't go forward for one reason or another. Parking was one of the issues, but the hazard zone perception really prevents a lot of people from looking seriously at doing anything in downtown. One other point that I could make is that I found out also through this discussion that Clinton Haida Housing cannot participate in any housing projects where a civic government has placed an overlay map calling it a hazard zone. So that to me is a real problem with the overlay maps, and this is Tlingit land. We all read that acknowledgement, and I agree with it. And I don't think we should have ordinances on the books that prohibit them from working in areas of downtown specifically.
Thanks.
Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Sankson. James Bibb? Please state your name and area of town you live in for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Yes, I am James Bibb, Thane Road, and I'm following Steve Sankson. I'm an architect by profession in our community, and Steve is one of many clients I've worked with over the years and will in the future. What I see a lot is the overlay maps being used to do due purpose in terms of the regulation and oversight from the city. However, I do think, we have these conversations, how do we move this project forward in light of these potential restrictions? And like tomorrow night, we'll be in the front of the Planning Commission, and the planning directors come forward, and their recommendation right off the bat, because of these restrictions, is to recommend non-approval for sort of the restrictions that these maps and other regulations come to play. So I understand the purpose in that, but I also know that a overlay map such as this that blanks it so broadly, without what I see is the city's, I'd like to see more of a proactive approach, and I don't know if it's attached directly to this ordinance as much as the attitude with the regulation side to be in front of the promotion of development in downtown. Because as Steve Sankson mentioned, there's probably the other side of this with the development that looks at what is the city's responsibility and mitigation of what we have in front of us. We live on a hillside. That's not going to change. And if anything is true, we maybe get more wetter in the future in terms of our climate. So I see this, adopting this measure based on kind of a blanket strategy without discussion in the regulations for the proactive responsibility of the city to do maintenance, to do education, and to help regulate that, so developments such as the housing in front of us tomorrow and others in our future aren't sit with questions of whether or not they can move forward or not. And I know there's a very general statement, but I want to maybe promote a little more description beyond simply the adoption of the maps, that there's a bit more on the city's role and responsibilities in making sure that those maps are conveyed in a positive light in those that support the financial institutions, and perhaps how the city looks at adopting and approving projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Bibb? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Tom Fletcher. Please state your name and area of town you live in for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Tom Fletcher, Star Hill, downtown. I just wanted to echo some of the other testimony that already occurred tonight. I'm at 529 Kennedy Street, which is a couple blocks in. So I'm officially in the green zone, but it's my understanding that probably 60, 70 feet from my house is medium or high risk. I just wanted to say what others have said, that I think that I totally support a larger, more holistic effort to deal with this issue of hazard areas. But I think the maps aren't defined enough and probably don't include some of the mitigation strategies that Mr. Isley pointed out. And I heard something about a postcard maybe coming to folks in our neighborhood. I'm not quite sure what that is about, but that seems like maybe half adopting these maps, or kind of giving us notice about something that hasn't been adopted yet. That's it. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Fletcher? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Olivia Seneko. Is that correct?
Hi.
Please state your name and area of town you live in for the record.
My name is Olivia Seneko, and I live at 615 Mason. I last testified on this issue at the September meeting. When I left the meeting that night, I breathed an enormous sigh of relief. After being engaged with this issue for the better part of 2 years, I finally felt that our concerns had really been heard. In the questions and comments from assembly members that night, you showed that you understood the map's inaccuracies and deficiencies, including but not limited to the problems associated with lumping together rockfall and debris flow, two very different types of events with very different implications for affected properties, into a single category of landslide. The explicit neglect of existing mitigating factors such as uphill structures and the absence of any meaningful opportunity for property owners to correct the maps, even where property owners had already privately paid for studies of landslide risk to their own property. Assembly members also showed that you understood that despite these deficiencies, financial institutions were already relying on the maps, as evidenced by the handful of examples that we found of banks rejecting mortgages on the basis of the new maps. You understood that the bell could not be entirely unrung, but your questions and comments that night showed that you were thinking seriously about how to minimize future financial harm to homeowners on the basis of the Tetra Tech maps. One proposal that got a lot of traction was the idea of adding a disclaimer to the maps, identifying its deficiencies and clarifying that the map should not be used for site-specific determinations. I left the meeting feeling confident that the assembly would take it from there. And gosh, now that we are here, I think we are really, really close, but we're not quite there yet. Unfortunately, there's still no meaningful disclaimer. If anything, the whereas language in the proposed ordinance actually appears to validate the maps. I put on my most creative former attorney hat, and I just can't understand how that's a disclaimer. It does not read that way to me. I would like to see a detailed and explicit disclaimer, like the beautiful language that Jack Chenoweth crafted. I would like to see it in the ordinance, and I'd like to see it on the maps. Something that really clearly, for someone who looks into these maps and wasn't here for all these meetings for the last 2.5 years, can just look at that and be like, oh, I get it. Now I understand why they didn't adopt it. Makes a lot of sense. I see. That's what we are looking for. That's what we're longing for. Please, please help us get there. Thank you for all your work.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Charles Rennick. Please state your name and area of town you live in for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi, Charles Rennick. I live at Star Hill downtown. And I won't take up more than a few seconds. I just wanted to reiterate everybody else's points. Thank you all so much for the work you've done. I was also here speaking at the November meeting on this and was really hopeful. And I'm back one more time and still tired and really hope it just, yeah, we cross the finish line with this, with postcards that either go out to everybody in town or some other way that don't imply that they're based on the maps that are not being adopted, and really strong and clear disclaimer language. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Reverend Karen Perkins.
Hi, I'm Reverend Karen Perkins, and I live in the Valley. And I'm actually not here to advocate for adopting or not adopting the maps. I just am going to point out that, because I don't think it's okay to forget that your new mooring warehouse is right in the middle of a high and moderate risk zone. And the homeowners who have, serious concerns about the value of their properties, I understand that. But I think it's important to also remember those people who don't have a choice about where they stay and where the emergency sources of housing are. And so among the other shameful things that have happened with regard to this, and the reality is that you waived having to go through the planning commission, so it doesn't actually matter in terms of whether or not it's going to be approved, but it's important that you're aware that part of that decision is that, these people are being warehoused in a place that is in a zone that may or may not be safe for human habitation. I think that's it.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Thank you for your testimony tonight. And then we have KML. Please state your name and area of town you live in for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
I'm Kay Nell. I live at 850 Jason Road. I would like to concur with everything that that has been said by the people who testified before me, because it's all true. This is a complicated issue, and I appreciate very much the work that the Planning Commission and the Assembly have been doing for the past couple of years on it. I would hope that as you move forward, you do adopt an enhanced notification in terms of clarification and for the maps, so that it's clearer what they represent and what they don't represent, because that has been one of the problems with the maps from the beginning, is the confusion of hazard and risk and not being clear about what's involved. And if adopting the maps increases the complications for many people beyond what's warranted, given the investment that Tetra Tech put into it and the disclaimers that they put in their study, then I would urge you to provide an adequate discussion of what those maps do and don't represent.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Since I have the sign-up sheet here, is there anybody else who hasn't testified that wants to testify on this ordinance? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the Assembly, and I'm going to go out of order because I know Mr. Smith has an amendment that will make some of the people in this room happy. Mr. Smith, we'll go to you as you move it and ask for your amendment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Madam Mayor, can I just ask for a 5-minute break if we're gonna get to it?
Sure. Let's recess for 5 minutes. Break. That was a very long 5 minutes.
Or maybe you don't want any of it.
So we are bringing it back to the Assembly, and Mr. Smith, would you move the ordinance?
Yes, Madam Mayor. One quick, oh no. One moment. Thank you. Electronic document. Okay. I move ordinance 2023-18, an ordinance amending the CBJ code related to development in landslide and avalanche hazard areas. I object for the purposes of an amendment.
Or you can just offer an amendment.
Or offering an amendment. Very good. Madam Mayor, thank you. Members should have received, and staff as well, I have some extra copies if others in the, I don't know if we need to get them out to anyone in the audience. Some have shared them or have seen them already. It's an amendment adding language to code to insert a disclaimer. It has been a goal of the Assembly to, again, do as best we can to unring the bell. As far as I know, in reading the amendment and discussions with the city attorney, the ordinance actually doesn't explicitly say or compel a disclaimer to be put on the maps, hence the need for the amendment. I feel the language may not be perfect, but I think it states a few things that I think are either known or we can find there's consensus on, or that are fact anyway, that I believe will then be on the maps and then provide people using them in the future, again, a quick this information quickly and clearly on the maps. Things in a whereas are not going to be in code. So therefore some of the, the utility, or some have said, the harm of the whereases kind of goes away unless people are looking at the ordinance, which I would say is.
Can I interrupt you just?
Yes.
Would you read it? Just
Sure.
Because not everybody will have a.
Very good. Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I move to amend ordinance 2023-18 as follows, to insert a disclaimer related to the 2022 unadopted landslide hazard assessment maps. It inserts a new section 9 and renumbers section 9 as section 10. New section 9 says, amendment of chapter CVJ Code 49.70, sensitive areas, is amended by adding a new section to read, 49.70.305, landslide hazard assessment disclaimer. The following disclaimer should appear on or be associated with Tetra Tech's mapping related to landslide hazard designation, figures 1.6A through J, 10 pages, dated April 27th, 2022. The disclaimer would read, the City and Borough of Juneau did not adopt these landslide hazard assessment maps. That landslide hazard assessment maps do not consider any human-made structures or mitigating measures. The landslide hazard assessment maps do not provide an indication of risk, as would be necessary to determine whether landslide hazards actually pose a threat to specific properties. A more detailed site-specific investigation and evaluation would be required to determine appropriate mitigations for specific properties. Section 10 just is renumbered for the effective date. Again, I was kind of giving some of the backgrounds and the reasons I wanted to introduce this amendment. I worked with the attorney. Again, I did not feel that, or I did not believe and heard that the disclaimer would be on the maps. And to be honest, the attorney chose these statements because he has a much better familiarity with some of the process and some of the statements. So that is where those statements came from. But again, I hopefully believe they will stamp the maps with these statements to provide guidance to people using them in the future. And I hope will help especially in cases of real estate transactions. So that is my intent for the amendment. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. So we have amendment number 1 on the floor. Any objection? Ms. Hughes Candies and then Ms. Wall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to object for purposes of a question first. This is for the attorney. Mr. Palmer, Mr. Smith just said that he left the language to you because you are more familiar with the process all throughout the historical or something like that. So if you could cue me into, did you pull some of these statements from, where you pulled these statements from?
Mr. Attorney.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor and Ms. Hughes Candies. These, the first statement, 1, 2, 3, I see 4 sentences in that paragraph. The first statement is just, I believe, a statement of fact, if that's what the assembly does. So I'm presuming that one happens. The second, third, and fourth statements are not necessarily verbatim, but summarized from language in Tetra Tech's report.
Follow up, thank you. Just so I'm clear, so the lines 11 through 17, those statements are pulled from Tetra Tech's report.
Mr. Attorney.
They are summarized from Tetra Tech's report, yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Wall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm confused about, I do recall a meeting where we talked about adding a disclaimer to the maps, and I believe the Assembly provided direction to do that. Was it determined that it has to be in an ordinance to make that happen, or why are we, Mr. Smith says we need this to get there. That's my question. Do we need this to get there, or was that direction already provided?
Mr. Attorney.
I can probably take half or 2/3 of that question, then maybe Mr. Smith can speak to the other part. There's some tension with this disclaimer. So on one hand, the Assembly is saying does not intend to adopt the landslide maps, but in order to have a disclaimer, I have to somehow identify those landslide maps. And so I've tried to do that here. The other piece is there's challenge as to how to create a disclaimer for us. So on one hand, it's probably maybe preferred on first blush not to have a disclaimer in code and to have it just somehow magically attached to maps and always be there. But if I spent some time considering that question, and there's probably a significant amount of time where people will either lose that add-on to the map or not remember that there's a non-code ordinance, for example, which could be another tool that addresses a disclaimer. And so given the time I had, the best approach I could think of was to actually put it in code, specify the landslide hazard maps, and then be super explicit that we're not adopting them, but just having a code section to reference for people in the future that there's a disclaimer that runs with those maps if and whenever they find them.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Mr. Smith, did you want to add to that, or is that good?
I think if there's a better way to do it, I'm open to it, but this is the one that I was advised to pursue. So, and I had not seen anywhere in the ordinance other disclaimer language. There was a whereas that will go away essentially when it's written into code. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. And I don't see any hands raised on the Zoom crowd, but you guys are pretty tiny, so. Ms. Wall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I remember we asked this question the last time too, but does the disclaimer, what does a disclaimer accomplish when it comes to insurers and mortgage companies and their use of this map?
Mr. Attorney, you're getting the finger pointed at you.
I think I drew the short straw on this one. That is a really tricky question because it's almost a chicken and the egg concept as to did the landslide hazard come first or did the maps come first? Tetra Tech, their report identifies that they're only mapping current conditions and what they expect to be the hazards for those current conditions. So even without the maps, the finance industry, the assessing industry, the lending industries could make their own determinations that there's risks and hazards. So it's really tough to know right now.
Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've reached out to 3 or 4 appraisers to discuss the ordinance and a disclaimer. My current sense is that, and what I heard from them, at least again, the current appraisers, is that as of now, even with the new maps, they are looking to the adopted 87 maps when they write hazards into the report that they provide to a lender. My sense is that even if we unadopt the 87 maps, they will still do that. I hope, and I don't have a great certainty here actually, is that having a disclaimer on those maps might cause other appraisers in the future who are not involved with this discussion, who didn't follow the whole process, who weren't around, to again maybe just provide some statements about some of the process to and maybe we'll cause them to either look at the 87 maps or do something else. But this is my best shot in somewhat slightly uncertain future, really. But that's my hope. So,
Mr. Kelly.
Thank you. I was just wondering what the effect of lines 8 through 10 would be. I mean, what should be associated with Tetra Tech's mapping? Does that mean like anytime like we send out the postcards, is that the website, is that all of the above? Anytime the maps are mentioned, is it like tied to that document specifically? To Attorney Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kelly. The concept with that language is if we have the ability to put a watermark, put a block on the maps, this language would preferably be on the maps. If for some reason we can't, then if these maps, for example, are on the Community Development Department's webpage, that this language would be associated either as a cover page or somehow on the maps such that people can recognize that the disclaimer language exists.
Thank you.
Mr. Kelly, that was good. Okay. All right, we have amendment on the floor. Do we have objection? Ms. Wall.
Objection for the purpose of an amendment. I move that we strike the third sentence of this. Sorry, the sentence that begins on line 13 So striking the sentence, the landslide hazard assessment maps do not provide an indication of risk as would be necessary to determine whether landslide hazards actually pose a threat to specific properties. And if I could speak to my amendment.
Before you speak to it, is everybody clear on what Ms. Wall is asking to do? Looks like it. Go ahead.
Thank you. You know, I hope everyone in the audience knows that we are trying to strike a balance between letting the broader public know about the potential safety risks associated with landslides and respecting our homeowners and wanting them to be able to insure their properties if we have control over that. And so when I think about an individual who is making a decision about where they want to live, where they want to buy property, where they want to rent, I would hope they would use these maps to help inform them. The reason that if we pass this tonight and don't adopt the maps, the reason that I'm supportive of not adopting the maps is not because they're bad maps. They're the best available information we have right now, but they're not great for regulating and site-specific information. But when I think about someone trying to make that decision about where to live, where to buy property, and I read that sentence, I would think I shouldn't look at these maps because they don't tell me anything.
Thank you, Ms. Wall. Any objection to Mr. Smith? Any objection to the amendment on the amendment?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess just for a question, as far as I understood from the attorney, you took, you found concepts or phrases from in the Tetra Tech report. Could you reference, if you're able to, where this one maybe came from?
Mr. Attorney.
Yeah, I'm doing a quick search. I believe I'm on page 10 of the Tetra Tech report, PDF page 30 of the 289 page report. I can read it if that's helpful.
Please do so.
Yeah, so I believe it's 3 sentences. The hazard designations assigned do not account for current or future positioning of infrastructure or people, as this is considered risk mapping, which is beyond the scope of this study. Similarly, analysis of magnitude, frequency, runout, and risk assessment are not part of this study.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Ms. Hughes Candies and then Mr. Bryson.
Mr. Palmer, could you read that again?
Mr. Attorney.
Getting practice. The hazard designations assigned do not account for current or future positioning of infrastructure or people, as this is considered risk mapping, which is beyond the scope of this study. Similarly, analysis of magnitude, frequency, runout, and risk assessments are not part of this study.
Mr. Bryson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Attorney Palmer, what is the impact of removing the proposed sentence by Ms. Wool? What does that do to this section that would then still be the landslide hazard assessment disclaimer? What would the impact of that be with this sentence removed?
Mr. Attorney.
Thank you. So just rereading the other 3 sentences, they don't specifically refer to risk, and the value of that sentence is the reference to risk.
Ms. Hale.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I actually found my file at home after quite a search that contains information that people have sent and past information. And one of the early, this is September 8th letter or email to us, mentioned in the sample paragraph, they said, accordingly, these maps do not indicate the site-specific risk level for individual Juneau properties. So, and then they go on to say shouldn't be used for insurance, home lending, financing, and or other site-specific purposes. So I think that that is in part at least what our members of the public are asking us to talk about, that the fact that these don't indicate site-specific risk level. And I believe that that sentence that Ms. Wall would like to remove is talking about the same thing in just a different way.
Ms. Hughes-Candies.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I know we all hate to throw amendments on amendments on amendments, and we also hate to amend on the evening, but somehow here we find ourselves years into the process and we have amendments. So with that, I will join the party of amendments, and I very much appreciate where Assemblymember Smith was coming from with his initial amendment to try to capture Assembly sentiment and to capture what this years-long process has consisted of. I recognize Ms. Wall's amendment. Deletion of that sentence would delete the section that's speaking to risk. I do think there's a cleaner way to do it language-wise, and we could probably amend I would offer another amendment, but I'm also okay seeing if that one gets deleted. I think there's a cleaner way to bake risk and mitigation into the third sentence, which would still capture what we're trying to do and capture the sentiment of the Tetra Tech maps in a way that would perhaps make me feel more comfortable that when a common person picks this up and they haven't been involved in this and they haven't had their life savings involved in this for years, that it's going to be easy to read and they're going to understand how much weight they should give the maps. So at your pleasure, I will either offer an amendment and we'll get 3 amendments deep, or we could vote on this one.
Her amendment doesn't tie to her amendment. It's a separate amendment.
Okay.
We would deal with Ms. Walls first.
Okay, thank you. Then I will not offer an amendment at this time.
Instructed by the attorney, but. All right, with that, we have Ms. Wall's amendment on the floor. Is there objection? Mr. Smith?
Yeah, I think it's an important thing to include. I'm searching through different documents to find similar statements, and I believe this statement to be correct. I have faith in the attorney and in his drafting and knowledge of the process and difference between risk and hazards. And from what I've heard from the public and looking into the issue, I believe this statement to be correct, and I think it's beneficial to have it on there. So I'll object. Thank you.
Any further objection? Ms. Wall?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I really appreciate Mr. Smith and Ms. Hale and the attorney for helping us understand how this sentence got from our report. Where I'm really coming from is from a member of the public who's going to be reading this and probably is not going to know the specific definition of all of these words, but is just trying to understand what they're looking at. So that's my last pitch.
Thank you, Ms. Wall. Mr. Kelly?
Thank you. I think Ms. Wall has good intent. And I understand where she's coming from, and I can see somebody misinterpreting this to not give this enough weight. And I think for that reason, I think I might actually support possibly Alicia's future amendment and which would come after removing this language. So I am in support of removing this language just for the purposes of another phrase being inserted that might be more clear.
Just so you know, Kelly, Mr. Kelly, we could remove this and nothing could come forward. Just so you know, you can't base one thing on the other, so.
Agreed.
I'll object just because it's kind of a funny worded question, but I think it needs or statement, but I think it needs to remain in there, so. Madam Clerk, we have Ms. Wall's amendment and we have objection. Please call the roll. Thank you, Madam Mayor. So for amendment, what I'm calling Amendment 1A, by Ms. Wall, to strike the sentence that begins on line 13 going through line 15 of Mr. Smith's Amendment 1. That sentence be stricken, excuse me, from Mr. Smith's amendment. Ms. Wall.
Yes.
Ms. Atkinson.
No.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Balakina.
No.
Ms. Hughes Candies.
Yes.
Mr. Bryson.
No.
Mr. Smith.
No.
Ms. Hale.
No.
And Mayor Weldon. No. Amendment 1A fails, 3 yeas and 6 nays. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Well, thank you, Ms. Wall. Ms. Hughes Candies, do you have Amendment 1B to offer? Do you need to take a few minutes to come up with Amendment 1B?
Yes, actually, if I could have 2 minutes, that'd be great.
Then you can talk to the attorney as needed. So we'll take another 5, a true 5 this time. Well, that was closer to 5 minutes than our last one. Ms. Hughes Candies, what do you have for us?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Okay, so I will offer an amendment starting on line 16. And so I will start at the beginning of the sentence, which starts on line 15. So the new amended sentence would read, a more detailed site-specific investigation and evaluation would be required to determine appropriate risk to and mitigations for specific properties. So inserting the words risk to and after appropriate.
Appropriate risk to, it's right after the word appropriate.
Oh, sorry, I have it on the other side.
Just go write it on the whiteboard.
Is it on this one?
So do you want to repeat it one more time, Ms. Hughes Candies, since we can't write it on the board?
Sure, but now I have arrows going both ways, so I'm trying to. So it would read, a more detailed site-specific investigation and evaluation would be required to determine risk to and appropriate mitigations for specific properties.
All right, is everybody clear on that motion or that amendment we're calling 1B? Any objection to that amendment 1B? Seeing none, wow. Any further amendments to the amendment? Okay, now we're back to Amendment 1 as amended. Any objection? Seeing none, that amendment passes. Now on to the main motion. Any objection to the main motion as amended? Ms. Wall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was hoping the manager could give us a high-level overview of what this ordinance will accomplish, because I heard different things in the audience and just want to make sure everyone's on the same page about what happens when we pass this ordinance and what doesn't happen.
Madam Manager.
Thought I was going to get off and Palmer was just going to have the hot seat today. So with passage of this ordinance, we will repeal the current landslide avalanche combined maps from 1987. So those will no longer be available on our website, but they will be available in archive as a permanent public record. We will post online the
avalanche maps and the landslide maps. The avalanche maps will be used to continue to regulate development in avalanche zones. The landslide maps will be for informational purposes only, and they will have a disclaimer, either watermarked in them or some combination of watermark and, click. And the disclaimer will read exactly as the language that you just adopted. And then I do know that there's been a lot of conversation about notification process, and I do expect to get some direction from the body on what that would look like. So just speaking to how we would implement changes to code and posting on the website. That's how I interpret it.
Thank you, Madam Manager. And after we vote on this, Ms. Hale has some notification discussions you want to discuss with everybody. But it's not part of the ordinance, so we'll save it till after. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess I'm just curious to what compels us to remove the 87 maps from websites or whatever.
Madam Manager, Mr. Attorney, rock, paper, scissors?
I'll take that. So this ordinance specifically repeals the 1987 maps. If they exist on, somewhere on our webpage, that's fine, but they would be explicitly repealed on this. I think the desire, if I'm understanding the Assembly correctly, after adoption of this tonight, if that's the Assembly's will, it would be to replace those 1987 maps with these newer maps, which are more accurate. Maybe not precise, but they're more accurate.
Any follow-up, Mr. Smith?
I just hope this works out okay. Thank you.
All right, and I see nothing up there. So again, we're at the motion as amended. Any objection? Ms. Hughes Candies.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I try hard not to do this, so I'll keep it really short. I'm just going to object for purposes of a statement. I really appreciate how much the public has remained engaged. Someone expressed in the last cow that it's tiring and hard and nerve-wracking to continue to follow along when it's such a personal thing. And we really do appreciate your engagement over the process. And I think that's brought to the forefront of some of the dangers of messing with these ordinances and regulating in general and how it affects homeowners and our residents. But on the flip side of that, which we've maybe not talked about as much and was just recently in the news, Wrangell experiencing a tragic loss of life with their landslides, and Haynes before that. And I think everybody in this room is united in wanting safety, but I think that is just important to note verbally. I, of course, like all of you, hope that that doesn't come to pass in Juneau, but as climate change continues and it does get warmer and wetter, that is a real danger. And so I just want us to be clear-eyed as we go into this, that there's not a lot of really safe places to live in Juneau, and this is still where we've chosen to live. But that is also in our mind. And so it's sort of an apology as we've gone through this process, but we've maybe not spoken to that piece enough verbally. So I just want to note that, and I remove my objection.
Thank you, Ms. Hughes Candies. Ms. Wall.
Madam Mayor, also objecting just for a quick comment. I agree with Ms. Hughes Candies, and just want to let the public know that in our retreat last week, we committed to a priority of continuing to, I'm going to forget the exact words, but research, talk about, think about how we can continue to be prepared for the emergencies that our community is going to face, whether that be more data about these hazards, whether that mean being prepared for when they do take place. But so I just want to say, we're committed to continuing this conversation beyond these maps.
Thank you. All right, that was everybody's last chance. So I get to object for purpose of a statement. First of all, again, I want to thank all of you, and this is not a perfect document in any way, shape, or form, but with your help, we made it as perfect as we possibly can. So I know you're not thrilled with it. I can tell you right now that I'm not thrilled with it, and I probably have a little bit different view than some because of my public safety background, but this is the best what we could probably come up with. So with that, I'll remove my objection. Seeing no objection, this ordinance passes. Thank you again for everybody's long road with us, but Ms. Hale did want to have a little discussion on public notice, so go ahead, Ms. Hale.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, and thank you again to everyone who is here. Echoing what my fellow assembly members have said, my mother subscribes to the Wrangell newspaper, and they've got a lot of quotes, a lot of information from the state geologist who is actually looking at all of Southeast Alaska at this time. And the state geologist says, you know, we could put instruments everywhere and we're still not going to catch these landslides. So we know there's a hazard, and there are people at the state level that are looking at all of Southeast Alaska, and Juneau is certainly included in that. So I appreciate that. What I would like to just get concurrence from the Assembly is that we direct our manager that a general notice be included in the property tax, the card or the letter that goes out, that general card that all property owners get. And that quote would read something like, if you live on a slope, you may be at risk for landslides or avalanches. If you live on the water, you may be at risk for flooding or erosion. So it's a general statement letting people know that we have risks here. And that and the news that we receive, you know, you can't ignore what happened in Wrangell, and you can't ignore that and think that that can't happen here. So with those kinds of news and that kind of statement, I think that that might get at that general notification rather than a specific notification based on maps.
Does anybody have an objection to that general? Ms. Wall?
Just a question. I believe you answered this in your last statement, but just to make clear, this would be instead of a specific notification to individuals or property owners within a 500 feet, or would it be in addition to that notification that was discussed?
This would be instead. Thank you.
Ms. Wall?
I'm going to object. I know this is tricky. I much prefer we notify individuals that we know are in dangerous areas from the best available information we have. I think that's our duty. You know, I lived in this area, the area that a lot of us are talking about tonight. As a 24-year-old, I had no idea that I lived in a place that could have landslides because I had never lived in a place with landslides before. And shortly after I moved out of that house, 5 trees went through the house, and luckily no one was hurt. But I, as a person who lived up there, would have loved to have known that the city has information about how serious it is to live there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wall. Mr. Bryson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to support Ms. Hale on this because Juneau does have hazards everywhere. And while some hazards are a little bit more obvious, if you're living on the side of a hill, forgive me. So we have certain people that live in areas where they don't think that they have hazards. The glacial outburst flooding was a great example that we heard repeatedly, that the people thought they were far enough away from the river that they didn't feel like they were at risk. The river obviously proved that wrong. So I would support an overall announcement with our property tax to remind Juneauites that we live in a hazard-prone area. Every single one of our homes in Juneau is in an earthquake zone. And so reminding everybody as we remind them of their yearly tax bill that, you do live in a hazardous environment, and I think that the citizens will be served by that. So thank you, Ms. Hale.
Ms. Hughes County, did you have your hand up?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I think I'm just looking for clarification. Once upon a time when we were talking about the notifications, we spoke about one of the ideas that was thrown out there of what if it was like a disclosure during, you know, property sales and like you disclose anything else. And that's outside of the city's capacity. That's two private individuals having a private transaction. But what we talked about during that idea was the idea of, well, you also have people who rent. And I've rented in Juneau for many years. And as far as getting a property tax notice, I've never gotten one because I go to the person who owns the property that I'm renting. So I very much appreciate where Ms. Hale is coming from. I think of Twin Lakes, and I think of a few spots in Douglas, and yeah, the river, there's hazards all over. So I'm trying to think how we split the difference of not unfairly pinpointing one area that we chose to study with this limited FEMA funding, but also how you capture for anyone who's renting on Star Hill, say, and doesn't know that our latest information is that you know, is a hazardous area. How do we split the difference between what I just heard Ms. Hale say, which I agree with, and what I heard Ms. Wall say, which I agree with? So if there's a drum roll and you're waiting for me to say, and I know how, I'm not sure. I'm thinking on that right now, but that's the problem I'm having with that approach, and I'm not sure about this approach.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly.
Thank you, and maybe I might have Ms. Hughes Gandy's solution. I mean, I don't have it with me right now, though, as the thing. I'm thinking this is the first time we've heard the language. I think I like the idea in concept. I also understand where Ms. Wall and Ms. Hughes Gandy's are coming from. I think maybe a little more reflection might be in order. And so if what Ms. Hale stated is a motion, I would like to move to refer that to the committee of the whole for further reflection.
All right, thank you for that, Mr. Kelly. So now we have a motion to refer it to the committee of the whole. Ms. Hale, you're objecting.
Yeah, I'm going to object, and I think that one of the things that came up in my many conversations with people who've been affected by this is that, you know, before Juneau starts sending notifications to people who live in hazard areas identified on this map, we really should do a much broader scale hazard identification. You know, Mr. Bryson mentioned properties along the river. So I don't think directing staff to send this notification with the property tax announcement, I don't think that precludes us from doing anything broader in the future. It's just a start, and many of the people in this very room had expressed a lot of concern for their properties being singled out for receipt of this notification, because that just brings us right back into the city adopting these maps, be it informally. So I'm trying to respond to that, but knowing that we actually have many hazards here and we can look at this in the future. So this is a temporary thing to do for now, and then we can address it later.
All right, thank you, Ms. Hale. Mr. Bryson?
I was just objecting to taking it to the committee of the whole. This seems like a simple enough request of the manager's office to start working on language that encompasses the whole community. And I think Ms. Hale hit the nail on the head that if we keep waiting for perfection, we're not going to get anywhere. So we have to do the good steps when we have the opportunity to do the good steps. I think we've done a lot of good steps tonight, although it might not be the end. We'll continue working on it. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Mr. Bryson. Mr. Smith, are you waving your hand or are you just holding your hand?
Actually, I think I have a question for Ms. Hell after this motion. Thanks.
Okay. Mr. Kelly.
Thank you. My internet cut out there for a second. I did intend, after hearing Ms. Hale's comments, considering as long as this isn't the end, I was going to withdraw my motion to refer to the cow.
Thank you for that. And perhaps we can stay with this general idea and have Ms. Hughes-Gandes and Ms. Kester work on how to get to the renters, unless you have an idea right now, Ms. Hughes-Gandes.
No, I don't.
Okay. So the general direction, this isn't really a formal vote, but is to state your general direction again. With the property tax statement, we will send out a message that generally says, if you live on a slope, you're in danger of landslides and avalanche. If you live by the water, you're in danger of flood and erosion. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That's
Madam
what's
Mayor.
up. I was paying attention. Any objection? Ms. Wall?
I'll just maintain the first objection I had. Thank you.
All right, so with that, we will go to, unless you had a question, Mr. Smith, we will go to a vote. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So for Ms. Hale's language to be
used
to direct staff, if you live on a slope, you may be in danger of landslide hazards. If you live by water, you may be in danger of flooding and erosion hazards.
Madam Mayor, I do have a question. I'm sorry.
We're actually in the middle of the vote now, so unless the body wants to suspend the rules, we're in the middle of a vote. Go ahead.
Madam Mayor, it's, if you live on a slope, you may be at risk for landslides or avalanches.
Or avalanche. Thank you. Ms. Hale.
Yes.
Mr. Bryson.
Yes.
Ms. Hughes-Gandes.
No.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Wall.
No.
Ms. Atkinson.
Yes.
Ms. Walakida.
No.
And Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
And Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Motion carries 6 yeas, 3 nays.
All right. And you ladies will work on that at a future date. Thank you. All right, with that, let's take a 10-minute break. Yeah. Are you ready, Madam Clerk? Thank you. For the record, Mr. Bryson had to leave. He had a slight little family emergency. So he will be with us for the rest of the evening. Item 7 is all the farther we are, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is ordinance 2022-60 version B, an ordinance amending the purchasing code regarding public notice, price thresholds, contracting process, contract requirements, and approval process.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Manager.
The intent of this ordinance is to clarify purchasing code provisions and increase efficiency of CBJ purchasing while maintaining competition for CBJ services and contracts. Section 2 would define new terms and amend existing terms. Section 3 would create a new purchasing category and process for purchases between $25,000 and $50,000. Section 4 would require assembly review of competitively solicited general contracts in excess of $750,000 and public improvement contracts in excess of $1.5 million. Section 5 would modify the exemptions for competitive solicitation. The Assembly Finance Committee discussed this ordinance on November 2nd, 2022 and November 1st, 2023. I recommend the Assembly adopt this ordinance.
Thank you, Madam Manager. And for the record, we have also lost Walgadock. She's on the East Coast and it's pretty late. She's catching an early flight. Any member of the public wish to speak to this ordinance? Seeing none, we'll move it to the Assembly. Ms. Hughes-Candies.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move ordinance 2022-60B and ask for unanimous consent. I ask Assembly adopt ordinance 2020-60B and ask for unanimous consent.
You can move it too. Any objection? Seeing none, that ordinance is adopted.
Out of practice.
Item 8, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is ordinance 2023-14, version B, large letter Q. An ordinance appropriating $500,000 to the manager for the cruise ship dock safety railing capital improvement project. Funding provided by dock funds.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Manager.
Since the construction of the new berths in 2017, Docks and Harbors has submitted annual marine passenger fee requests for the installation of safety railings along the downtown waterfront. With increased Seawalk users, there are concerns for safety and well-being of users in the areas without safety railings. This funding would provide approximately 25% of the installation of safety railings along the Seawalk from the CT Dock to Marine Park. The Public Works and Facilities Committee reviewed and approved this request at the November 6, 2023 meeting. I recommend the Assembly adopt this ordinance.
Thank you, Madam Manager. We have Kirby Day signed up to speak to this on Zoom. Is he still there?
Mr. Day, you're now allowed to talk.
I am still here. Can you hear me, Madam Mayor?
Yes, we can. Please state your name and area of town you live in for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Great. Thank you. I'll hopefully take less than that. I'm Kirby Day. I live in the Twin Lakes area, and thank you for the opportunity to testify on this tonight. I would encourage the Assembly to adopt this ordinance. I think we have a fantastic amenity in this community, and it's the Seawalk. I can remember sitting through meetings 25 years ago when the Seawalk was a vision. And I think the city should be very proud of what they've done in creating a really first-class waterfront with the Seawalk. And I know it's going to continue as they try to move it south and north as well. I think it's also interesting to realize that while this Seawalk is used year-round, residents and visitors alike, that the Seawalk that was built in its entirety was built with a safety railing to keep people safe on the Seawalk and from going over the side into the water. That includes the new section that was built just in the last year, connecting the northern end of the Seawalk to Marine Park. And I don't recall any suggestions at that point that we build that, or that the city built that section with no safety railing. So the area we're talking about is, as is stated in the ordinance, is the area that used to be the actual cruise ship dock, but with the advent of 16B, that has now actually become a proper Seawalk. We've had a number of incidents along this area. I myself ran across a gentleman that had passed out on top of the bull rail last year. I was afraid to wake him up, that he might turn the wrong way and go overboard. I called 2 harbor officers and they came and woke him up and held him so he wouldn't go over. There was a bicyclist that went over the edge of the Seawalk and into the water. We happened to have a ship at the dock and they went on a man overboard. All stations launched a fast rescue boat, but the gentleman untangled himself from the bike, and both of those instances turned out okay. I know there have been others that didn't turn out quite so okay. So I'd encourage you to look at this as a public safety issue. the bull rail that's along that area is not going to keep anyone from going over the edge, whether it's a small child running along playing on the seawalk, or somebody just walking along and losing their balance or slipping in the winter on ice. So I do believe it's a public safety concern, and that's why the rest of the seawalk has safety railing. So I'd encourage you to go ahead and adopt this and let Docks and Harbors move forward with putting in this infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Day. Any questions for Mr. Day? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Any other member of the public wish to speak to this ordinance? Seeing none, we'll bring it to the assembly. Ms. Wall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the Assembly approve ordinance 2023-14BQ, an ordinance appropriating $500,000 for the manager for the cruise ship dock safety railing capital improvement project, and I ask for unanimous consent.
Ms. Hughes-Candies.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to object to this ordinance this evening. I'm on the Public Works and Facilities Committee, so we passed it out of that committee. I've thought long and hard about this project. I haven't gotten to see it before in previous requests for cruise ship money for the cost of installation. Those times the Assembly had rejected it. I understand that the Docks and Harbors Board views it as an important enough project that they're willing to fund it out of their own funds. And I intended to bring a thesis-worthy project of the reasons why I didn't want to support it, even though I have tremendous faith in our port director and our Docks and Harbors staff. But I will be far shorter, and I'll just speak really quickly to why I'm objecting. Mr. Kirby said that we had a fantastic amenity in the Seawalk, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. I use it all summer long, like many year-round residents do, and I can tell you that the bull rail that is there currently without the safety railings serves as a seat for tons of residents eating their lunch, tourists taking a rest when there's not a bench available. Is that a safety hazard? Potentially, yes, but there are several, as we just discussed earlier. Safety hazards abound all throughout our community. The vista is, I feel like, more enjoyable at that location as far as feeling like a real waterfront. And given the number of cruise ship passengers who use the Seawalk every year since it's been built, if we look at those numbers, when at times it is so crowded that you can hardly push your way in one direction or the other, 1.6 million, 1.3 million, if you added up those numbers, I just heard of 2 incidents, and I'm sure they are not the only ones, but I think it proves that we can use the Seawalk as it is now and enjoy it as it is now, and it has not proven to be a major safety concern. So those are, and financially, I will say that given the approximate amount of installation that we will receive for $500,000, that will get us 25% of the installation, so we're talking about a $2 million project. I think there are worthier projects that I would like to see this money spent on, although I understand it's a priority of the board. So for all of those reasons, I will object.
Thank you, Ms. Hughes-Candies. Ms. Ham.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wonder if we could ask Mr. Etheridge a question about the Docks and Harbors Board, or perhaps Mr. Yucatil, but maybe Mr. Etheridge.
Do you have a question to ask them?
My question is, what has the discussion about this at the Docks and Harbors Board been like, and does the Docks and Harbors Board support it? Those people are very, very familiar with docks, and so I'd like to know.
Chair Etheridge?
Thank you, Ms. Hale. Thank you, Madam Mayor. The discussions with the Docks and Harbors Board is that it's almost unanimous. We have one dissenter, and that member thinks it should be the way it is so that people could jump off the dock. We're trying to stop people from falling off the dock is what our main intention is on this. And that's the only objection that we've had on the board, and the board is fully supportive of it.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Etheridge while he's up here? Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The project's proposed is 25%. So if you don't get any additional funding, anyway, I'm just kind of curious how, I mean, you'll proceed with it, and I'm sorry if this is for Mr. Yucatel, but you'd proceed with the project and just build a quarter of it? I'm just curious to see how you would build it piecemeal.
What the intention is to build as much as we can afford to build with our fund balance, and that's where we're at this point right now, is that we feel safe using this amount of the money out of the fund balance and still have a little bit left over. And then as we build our fund balance, we can propose to do more.
Ms. Hale.
Thank you. I forgot to ask while you were up there, Mr. Etheridge. Ms. Uscandi's talked about people sitting on the bull rail, and I do that too. Is the safety rail going to go on the outside of the bull rail so people could still sit on the bull rail?
That I'm not sure. We'd have to ask the engineer on that one.
Carl's nodding.
Mr. Yucatel, you nodded, so you have to come up.
Through the mayor, Ms. Hale. So the railing will go on top of the bull railing. You can see the example of how it's built now. So throughout the existing seawalk, it's already built. I'm not going to say there's enough room to sit your rear end on the bull rail with the railing there. That's probably not practical. So no, the answer is no.
Mr. Kelly.
Thank you. To follow up on Mr. Smith's question, so since we're constructing 25% of it, well, I guess what section would get priority? Like where would we start? Where would we finish with the funds that would be available?
Mr. Yucatel.
Through the mayor, Mr. Kelly. So we would start towards the CT dock, which is closest to the tram building. The reason we would start in that direction is that bull rail is newest from the most recent construction of the 16B project, so that it'll be more cost effective to start in that direction and move northward.
Thank you, Mr. Yucatel. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And Mr. Yucatel, sorry, you were great and talked with me this morning, and these are some questions that I should have asked you, but they just come up now. Are you anticipating funding the remaining 75% of the docks using docks funds?
Mr. Yucatel.
Through the mayor, Mr. Smith. So my intentions are, and the board has not approved this yet, but we will be teeing up the Marine Passenger fee request for FY25. So as we have asked in recent years for money from MPF, we will again ask for it this year. But as Chair Etheridge indicated, the board just believes that we need to make a dent and build what we can afford. And if there's not money available through MPF, we'll just continue to use our fund balance or ask this body to approve transfers using our fund balance to continue the build out of the safety rail.
Any further questions for Mr. Yucatel? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Yucatel. I'll weigh in because nobody else is. I'm going to object also. I agree with Ms. Hughes. Scandy, she said it much more eloquently than I do. These are historic docks, and I just have a hard time putting up a railing on our historic docks. As she said it brilliantly, we had 1.7 million passengers, and we may have had 5 to 10 incidents, if that. So I understand that it's being proposed for safety, but at the same time, I think people have to have a little personal responsibility with that. And I also think we could use the funds in different ways. I'm not opposed to the rest of the Seawalk having railings when it gets built, but this particular section, whether it's a historic bull rail, I'm for keeping the bull rail the same. So that's my objection. So Madam Clerk, we have a motion and objection. So please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For passage of ordinance 2023-14BQ, Ms. Wall,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Ms. Atkinson,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
No.
Ms. Hughes Scandies,
No.
Ms. Hale,
Yes.
and Mayor Weldon.
No.
Motion fails. We only have 4 in the affirmative and 3 nays.
All right. Thanks again to all you harbor folks that are here. Mr. Yucatel, you want to introduce your harbor folks while you're here? We don't get to see them very often.
We have Harbor Master Matt Creswell. We have Port Operations Supervisor Scott Hinton. Mr. Hinton spends all his summers managing the Seawalk and the people that provide the security. And then from the board, we have Mr. Ridgway, Chair Etheridge, and Mr. Becker was here for the longest time. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So anyway, thank you guys for being here. Moving on to item 9, Madam Clerk.
Madam Mayor, I serve notice of reconsideration.
Okay, we will have a reconsideration. Is that immediate or?
Optionally for the next meeting.
Okay. The attorney is taking note, and so is the clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is ordinance 2022-06, version B, large BB. An ordinance appropriating $6,320,400 to the manager for the City and Borough of Juneau's fiscal year 2023 operating costs, funding provided by various sources.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Manager.
The following departments and funds require supplemental budget authority in fiscal year 2023. Human Resources, $35,000 of supplemental authority is needed to cover unbudgeted costs relating to the NeoGov implementation, one of the initiatives to improve recruitment. Funding provided by general funds. Airport, this ordinance appropriates $309,700 of federal CARES Act funding for required repairs and maintenance upgrades at the airport. Eagle Crest, this ordinance appropriates $17,400 of Eagle Crest funds for increased insurance, road plowing, and vehicle repair costs, and $43,800 of Eagle Crest inventory reserve balance to write off obsolete inventory. Debt Service Fund, this ordinance appropriates $60,400 for bond issuance costs, funding provided by debt service funds. Pandemic Response Fund, this ordinance provides budget authority to transfer federal revenue to the general fund, including the last tranche of federal ARPA funds and the first tranche of the Local Assistance and Tribal Consistency Grant. This ordinance also appropriates approximately $320,000 for CBJ's fiscal year 2023 COVID-related costs funded by FEMA revenue. I recommend the Assembly adopt this ordinance.
Thank you, Madam Manager. Any member of the public wish to speak to this ordinance? And please note that Eagle Crest Manager, Mr. Scanlon, is here. We'll bring it back to the Assembly, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move ordinance 2022-06-BBB, an ordinance appropriating $6.32 million to the manager for city and borough of Juneau's fiscal year 2023 operating costs, and ask for unanimous consent.
Any objection? Seeing none, this ordinance passes. Thank you for being here all night, Mr. Scanlon. All right, there's no unfinished business. There's no new business, so we'll go to staff reports. Who is doing this one, Madam Clerk, Manager?
Yes, I'll take that one. In your packet, you have a staff report just updating the public and the body that the sales tax cap will increase on January 1, 2024 per CBJ code. It's adjusted for inflation every 2 years. A requirement of city code is that we publicly notice, include this in a public meeting. So this is that notice.
Thank you. Any questions on that? All right, that's public notice, so we'll move on. We don't have to do anything, right? Okay. Moving on to assembly reports. So the mayor's report. First of all, congratulations to the Thunder Mountain JDHS wrestling team that took Southeast the first time in many years. Congratulations on that, and congratulations on the ice hockey team that beat Kodiak this weekend. So all these things were happening. But special congratulations to Beth McEwen, Municipal Clerk of the Year, who was so happy that she jumped for joy and took out her knee. But we were all there to see it, so we were very happy to see that you won the award, not that you hurt your knee. Anyway, most of us were up at AML, and I just wanted a big thank you to Nils Andreasen and his staff, which we are proud to have Ms. Hughes Candies and Carol Tree, for that matter, as part of his staff. And they did a great conference, probably the best one I've been to be quite honest. So lots of good panels and lots of good things we learned. And in fact, Ms. Hale and the staff talked about some of them this morning. So other than that, my only staff report is tomorrow from 3 to 6. I want the public to remember it's open house at the governor's residence. So come get your cookies from 3 to 6 at the governor's mansion. And we'll just go to committee of the whole, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think that we've met as an assembly since the last committee of the whole meeting, as I recall. Next committee of the whole meeting will be 1 week from today on the 18th at 6 p.m.
Thank you. Ms. Wall, Finance.
Oh, let me say one more thing. Are we kind of combining everything right
No,
here?
it's just your committee of the whole.
Well, you talked about other things.
That's my mayor's report. Ms. Wall, Finance. I only get to talk once, you get to talk twice. Ms. Wall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I believe everyone was at the last Finance Committee meeting. We talked high level state of the state when it came to our finances, or our budget in anticipation of our retreat. We had a good discussion about budget at our retreat. You know, I walked away from that conversation kind of feeling like there's still some things for us to get aligned on and have more conversation before we get through the budget. So I am meeting with Ms. Flick and Ms. Kester later this week to kind of circle up and figure out what our next few Finance Committee meetings look like, so that we can have a smooth process once we get to April. And so I do not know what we are talking about on at our next meeting in January, but we'll have that information for you soon. I forgot we also talked about sales tax holiday at our last Finance Committee meeting.
Thank you. And thank you for being acting mayor in our absence.
Told me that I was acting mayor, but I did a great job.
So excellent job. Mr. Bryson is gone, so we won't do Public Works, Lands. Ms. Hughes Candies.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Let's see, the last time the Assembly Lands, Housing, and Economic Development Committee met was on November 6th, and we discussed Crazy Horse Drive lease renewal, which we forwarded on.
We also discussed the Juneau Affordable Housing Fund 2023 funding recommendations. And we got an update from Mr. Blydorn on the CVJ Christmas tree and firewood harvesting policy. So you can go, we're in the window now, you can go harvest a Christmas tree if that is your desire. And there's some easy to read maps of where you can grab them from on the website. Our next meeting will be next Monday.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, you have some appointments.
Yes, Madam Mayor, at today's Human Resource Committee, the committee recommended, and I move, that the Assembly approve the reappointments and appointment to the Juneau Development Council Board for Mark Guevara to the at-large seat and Jill Whites to the nonprofit environmental organization seat. And yes, what did I? Yeah, sorry. And the appointment of Brian Klein-Hens to the at-large seat, all for terms beginning immediately and ending October 31st, 2026. And I ask for unanimous consent.
Any objection? Seeing none, they are appointed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This one is long. At our HRC meeting, the committee unanimously recommended, and I move that the full Assembly approve the recommendation to the State of Alaska Emergency Response Commission, the reappointment of Scott Erickson, Peace Officer Seat 2, Destiny Sargent, General Public Seat 4, Louisa Phillips, General Public Seat 4A, Evan Price, Bartlett Regional Hospital Seat 5, and Kenneth Murphy, Hazmat Transporter Seat 10A, and the appointment of Craig Campbell, Peace Officer Seat 2, all for terms beginning January 1st, 2024 and ending December 31st, 2026. And the appointments of Sabrina Boone, Alaska Native Tribal Representative Seat 12, and Rhonda Butler, Alaska Native Tribal Seat 12A, for terms beginning immediately and ending December 31st, 2024 on the Local Emergency Planning Commission and Committee, and I ask for unanimous consent.
Any objection? Seeing none, they are all appointed.
Very good. One last one. Thank you, Madam Mayor. The committee unanimously recommended, and I move the appointment of Shannon Crossley for the Douglas Advisory Board for a term beginning immediately and ending September 30th, 2024, and I ask unanimous consent.
Any objection? Seeing none, she's appointed.
Very good. Thank you. The last thing we did today was we voted to introduce a resolution that would petition for new restaurant and eating place liquor licenses in Juneau. We're still getting information, choosing the number, but we've asked that to be drafted, and that will, cause some good work to be done by staff and good information for us. But we are moving forward on that. So thank you, Madam Mayor. That's what I had for HRC.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Any committees that I have forgotten that would have moved? Seeing none, now we will go to the Assembly for their liaison reports and questions, comments, concerns. You want to start with you or down there? Ms. Hughes Candies.
Madam Mayor, you already referenced the Alaska Municipal League Conference, which many of us attended. I'm still unswirling that from my head, but it was a very positive experience, and I feel like I got double amounts out of it from helping to prepare it and getting to hear the conversations among all the different cities in the state. Learned a lot. I have not been to an SRRC meeting yet, and so I am excited to attend my first one tomorrow afternoon, just with travel. Travel Juneau, speaking of travel, has gotten traction on their Nat Geo campaign. The office is fully staffed now, which is great, and the board is preparing to meet in retreat on January 30th, at which point I'm sure I'll have more to bring you. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Hughes Candies. Ms. Wall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I attended the Eagle Crest board meeting this last Thursday, we saw they finalized their request to use alternative procurement for the next steps in the gondola that was introduced tonight, I believe. The plan, I think, is to get an update at the committee of the whole on the gondola project before we vote on that particular ordinance. They also discussed their legislative priorities as that process is moving through the city. So we'll see those sometime soon, as well as their CIP list. And then the chamber has not had a board meeting a regular board meeting since our last meeting, but the mayor and I attended their annual retreat a few weeks ago, and they provided draft priorities to us. I don't think they've finalized those, but when they do, we'll make sure the assembly gets a copy. And I spent some time with their government affairs committee last week, just letting them know about our retreat and what we discussed. And they had some good feedback for us on a few of the topics. That's all I'll say on that.
Thank you, Ms. Wall. Ms. Atkinson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since we last met, Ducks and Harbors had their meeting where they did a lot of discussion and preparation for our joint Assembly and Ducks and Harbors board meeting, which I believe will be occurring on the 18th of December. Specifically, something they were wanting to discuss was the potential changes to Title 85 and some ironing out exactly what that would mean and what those changes would result in. They've also been looking at their CIP list and should have that forwarded pretty soon, along with their bylaw cleanup, which I think introduced just today. At the last Juneau Economic Development Council meeting, we discussed potential board candidates, which Assemblymember Smith just presented to the Assembly and we approved. And the Juneau Commission on Sustainability has not had a regular meeting since we last met.
Thank you for keeping it short, Mr. Kelly.
Thank you. The Emergency Planning Committee hasn't met since the last Assembly meeting. Our next meeting is going to be on the 13th, so this Wednesday. The Planning Commission met on the 14th and approved permits for the Learning Center on St. Anne's. I also, even though it's not required as a liaison, I attended the Title 49 subcommittee because they were talking about amending code for accessory dwelling units. They're going to be receiving some new updated language for consideration on the 21st at their next meeting. So I intend on attending that. As far as Assembly comments go, I wanted to, I had a few thank yous. First of all, thank you to the Assembly for sending me to the Municipal League, especially as the first-time Assembly member. I think I got some valuable training and made some valuable connections that will hopefully benefit our community. I especially want to thank City Manager Kester. She was a part of a panel that discussed housing. That room was standing room only, and she represented Juneau well. So I want to give her a kudos and thank you for that. Also, I think it's only appropriate that I also want to thank the Zach Gordon Youth Center for inviting me to their gratitude dinner. Show them some gratitude for that. I went with my family. We had a great time, very wholesome experience. They invited us. So I just wanted to extend my thanks for that.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Downtown Business Association met about a month ago. They meet second Tuesday every month, discussed that they are looking for members. They got a presentation from Huna Totem on the proposed dock. Under the advisement of the attorney, I left the room, so just to make sure that's clear. And then they planned the first Friday, or just whatever it's called in December. and executed that great. Gallery walk, excuse me, thank you. The school board met. They're meeting tomorrow. Anyway, we probably know this story about some fiscal issues going on there, but I will report back on tomorrow later. Oh, the other thing I did mean to mention during my HRC meeting, we went about 13 minutes before realizing that our members online could not hear us. So just a good reminder to myself and maybe others to just like ask them, like, can you hear us or something? Because we had to do the meeting almost twice because we didn't realize they couldn't hear the whole time.
Good advice.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Sale.
I'll keep it very short. Went to the Alaska Municipal League. I concur with Mr. Kelly that the housing presentation panel discussion was great. Lots of stuff was really great. And Ms. Prack, the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee, because I was up at AML, but I heard from Director Schaaf that it was a great meeting and they passed some stuff out of it, so we'll be seeing that. And on Sunday, I went to the final showing of Cabaret, and it was great. And in the cast was our very own Maria Gladishevsky, and she was terrific. So great job, Theater in the Rough. And it's done now, so that's all.
I went to that too, and it was good to see Maria sing her pineapple song.
Yes, that was so funny.
That was funny. So, anyway, I did go ahead.
So I forgot to mention something on Thursday, December 14th, this week, Thursday night, starting at 5:30, we are meeting as the full assembly is convening as the HRC for Planning Commission and Bartlett board interviews. We're meeting at 5:30, interviews start at 5:45. If you have, it's 15 minutes for us to kind of talk maybe about ways we can execute those interviews, but and it's on Zoom, so just needed to remind everyone of that because I almost forgot. So thanks.
Thank you. I was actually going to go to you for this. Do you want to talk about? We have some revisions to our assembly calendar that Madam Clerk made on the request of some members. Madam Clerk, you want to go over those changes?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For those of you online, I emailed it and it's also under supplemental materials under the online packet. This is a revision primarily to the Assembly Finance Committee scheduling, and we are moving the Finance Committee start times to 5:30 rather than 6 p.m. And then also the February Finance Committee meeting is being moved from Valentine's Day, the 14th, to the first Wednesday on February 7th. And then we also learned that Southeast Conference is being held in Ketchikan in September, not the week of the 16th, but rather the week of the 24th. It's going to be the 24th through the 26th. And therefore, the Finance Committee that had previously been on the calendar for the 25th got bumped up to the 18th. And those were the primary changes to this revised calendar before you. If it meets the Assembly's approval, I would ask that we could readopt this new revised version, and that way we can finalize it.
So let's just move on the dates right now because the chair seems to be questioning the time. So actually, Ms. Hale, would you give me a motion? That would be the easiest, the cleanest way to do that.
Yeah, I move the Assembly adopt the revised date 12/11/2023 revised 2024 Assembly meeting calendar and ask for unanimous consent.
Any objection? Seeing none, let's go back to the time. Madam Chair.
The reason I looked surprised was just I think we got a lot of positive feedback about the 5:30 start time for Finance Committee meeting. What I was wanting to know from staff was there was some conversation about having some of our needed joint meetings on the Finance Committee nights, and so I wasn't sure I didn't know when those if that was still the plan and when those would need to start and how that would impact a 5:30 start time. So that would be my only question before we move on that.
Mr. Barr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think the short answer is we'll get back to you.
Okay, would it be a problem if we move forward with 5:30 start times and you can adjust them, or does this mean let's not make a change at this time?
Yeah, I guess I'll just weigh in that we would just add a special meeting to the beginning of a finance committee meeting. So the start time 5:30 or 6 shouldn't matter unless we have a joint board that is really problematic with that start time, and we'll make sure and let you know if that's the case.
Okay, sounds we can move forward with a 5:30 start time for finance committee meetings. Some days it may not actually start till after we've had a special assembly meeting with our joint boards.
You're the chair, feel the power. And I did forget to mention that we have a bucking salmon champion with us. Mr. Barr wrote it several times, but he did improve each time. So with that, we will move on to presiding officers. Mr. Palmer.
I'll take those. Two quick updates. In TDLH LLC versus the Community Development Department, that case has settled, and so there's no action for the assembly. On Hart versus Planning Commission and Tuna Hodem Corporation, there's now a hearing officer from the State Office of Administrative Hearings. Ms. Hart has filed her opening brief in the Planning Commission, and Huna Hodem's briefs are due on January 2nd, and there's no action for the assembly.
We like no action by the assembly. Yep. All right, and then so we hit assembly comments. A continuation of public participation on non-agenda items. Okay, the member of the public says no. So with that, we are adjourned.